This week on the program, with Governor Abbott signing a bill that would make Texas even more Texas, we need to know what this new law will mean to us here in the great state of Texas. In order to do that, we sought out an expert on the matter. We will talk to him tonight. Meanwhile, there's so much on our minds this week, but let's not forget the real question on our minds today. Did you bring your ticket to the gun show? That's right. Your emergency exit is right this way.
This act is for emergencies only.
That's right. Yeah, it's not as good as your bicep.
You mean my jacked up bicep? Oh, is that the remix?
Okay, sorry about that. Hey, welcome.
That was a remix.
Off to a good start. This is episode 210. Today is June 25th, 2021. We are broadcasting again from K-Brand Studios in our floating tin can, far above the world. I am Los.
That was my best attempt.
That's not bad.
That was my best.
We're not that great at it yet. We used to be good at it.
We're good.
I am Los. You could follow me on Twitter at That's Right Los.
You could.
Joining me, as always, is exactly David Aguilar.
Hola, ¿cómo están, amigos y amigas?
Making sure we're streaming live, and we have a special interview today. A special guest coming in is Brandon, the Hard Hat Mitchell. He's not the guest, but Brandon, not Juro 52.
Not Juro 52. Gotta let that be known.
Yep.
Welcome.
How y'all
welcome
doing?
again.
How y'all doing?
That is correct.
Doing all right.
I was thinking
Doing
about
good. Do
you know why we do that far above the world?
Yeah, because we're in our floating tin can.
Well, do you know what that is a reference to?
He doesn't know.
I don't think so.
He doesn't know.
You don't know? Maybe if you know, you can holler at us.
Yeah, because if you know,
it's
you know.
literally. I can
Don't tell him.
Is it
Don't
from a
tell
movie?
him.
Is
Don't
it from
tell
a
him.
movie?
Don't tell him.
No, it's not.
You either know or you don't.
You either know or you don't. If you guys know, you just go ahead and holler at us. We're going to post the number down here in a little bit, so you guys can call us in while we are talking to Michael Cargill later. But we have some stuff to take care of.
First, yes.
That's right. So let's go ahead and get the Brew World Order going.
It's the Brew World.
This week, we've got, by Circle Brewing, we've got their Envy Amber.
Envy.
And this is a great amber beer so far, but it's got 26 IBUs, 4.8 alcohol by volume, water, malt, hops, and yeast. That's it.
That's all you need.
That's all you need.
That's all you need.
Can I get a little bit of music while I read?
The sexy jazz music.
Compare it to the last amber you had, and you'll know why we call it envy. Not only is the can green, but their eyes will be too. Oh, yeah. Bold, smooth, molasses. Conjuring flavors of an old world ESB, Envy endeavors to bring the bold and smooth British-style pub ale to Texas. The dried fruit notes derived from rich and earthy British malts and slightly higher fermentation temperatures make for an exceptionally complex, well-rounded, and full-bodied amber.
Oh, yeah.
Please drink responsibly. We've had a chance to drink this beer before the show, and all rate it. On a scale of 1 to 10, that's right, 10 being the best beer you ever had. Brandon, the Hard Hat Mitchell, what do you think?
You know, we did. David and I did discuss a little bit of this this beer before the show. It's very interesting. It's got a lot going on for it. And I'm actually trying to go hit the swimming hole tomorrow morning. So y'all aren't allowed to have any more of these.
Ooh.
Because I want to take the rest with it. I feel like it's a river beer, but I need to try it at a river because it's right on that edge.
Yep.
You got to test your hypothesis.
Exactly. I got to test it, and I'll let y'all know next week how that goes. But as far as ratings, I'm going to give this 8 That's Right.
Wow.
Woo!
8 That's Right.
David Tío Tomás, what do you
Mira,
think?
la cerveza que ahorita tomó yo estaba excelente.
See?
Excellent beer.
Excelente.
No, excelente.
Excelente.
No, this is a great beer. Knocked my socks off when I first took my first sip. I had to look at it and be like, "This is a fucking amber." But I'm gonna give it 8. That's right. Also, it's very
Wow,
delicious.
That's great. This has got an earthier malt, slight bitter. I don't even think I get too much of the dried fruit coming out in there. That being said, I do like this this beer. It is quite nice, and I'm gonna also give this a solid 8. That's right. Wow, my goodness.
We
Well,
all fucking gave it an 8.
all right. Well, that is this week's Brew World Order. We'll see you next week.
Oh yeah.
It's the Brew World Order. So we have our sweet interview coming up here in just a few minutes. Stay
Los,
tuned.
that is a very beautiful gun.
It's just a display gun.
It's a display gun. Let that be known.
Yeah, it's completely fake.
Yeah, made
but
out of
it is
plastic.
a replica Ruger, huh? That's right. So we're going to talk to Michael Cargill in about 5 minutes here. In the meantime, what's going on with you and your mustache? And
You like it?
I like it so much
So
that I want to get it pregnant.
So this has been the last couple weeks of maintenance, combing it, brushing it, taming it, using everything that we learned.
Sounds like you've been watching that video and taking some tips.
Mustache maintenance. You
The
got to watch
mustache
it.
maintenance video, and I think that's something is to be considered.
Yeah. And that was my question before we did the video was like, how do I tame my stash and what I do? And you said, look, this is just quit. One of the things you said was shave this bullshit off, which I did. Thank you. I feel like a whole new man after I did.
That's too funny.
And you said, stop cutting this, stop shaving this. You just got to let it grow. And that's exactly what I've been doing. And after 2 weeks, ladies and gentlemen, 2 weeks.
2 weeks, and he's got it's quite a nice stash there. I like that you're working with that, and it's becoming a mustache heavy show here.
Yeah, it really is.
Emphasis on the heavy
The
mustache.
next one who needs a stash is Brandon.
Yeah, that's right. Well, he can rock one. He's rocked one in the past many times.
I've been there,
Yeah?
but no, I'm not going back to the stash. I'm
No?
rocking the beard,
Yeah?
man. I love the beard.
You got to let it grow longer.
I've been there before.
Really?
I've had a fairly long one
What?
before. Yeah, way back my probably early 20s.
Yeah, see, I just started growing facial hair, so I'm taking advantage of it.
Okay, yeah, try it all out,
Are
man.
we ready here? Or do we need some more time?
Yeah, he's ready.
Oh, you
All
ready,
right.
Mike? Oh, yeah.
All right, great. So we're going to get started here. So we've got a special guest here. Now, as I said when we opened up
Special
here,
to our
Governor
hearts.
Abbott signed a bill that's going to make Texas way more Texas. And there's a new law that he signed, and we want to know what that's going to mean to us here in the great state of Texas. So in order to do that, we sought out an expert. Today, we have Michael Cargill. He is the owner of Central Texas Gunworks. Gunworks. He's a 12-year Army veteran. My goodness. Thank you for your service. And a whole list of other things. He's expert on all things licensed to carry and constitutional carry, which we're going to be talking heavily about. He's the host of Come and Talk It radio show, Sunday, 4 to 5 p.m., 1370 a.m., 1120 a.m., 104.7 FM, 101.1.
Anything badass, this man knows it.
Get this guy a platform. He needs another one here. We got my man, Michael Cargill. Thanks for joining us, man.
Man, thank you very much. I appreciate you guys.
Yeah.
It's great to meet you, finally. And as you can see, I got my Ruger P95 here.
Okay, nice, very
Thank
good,
you.
very
I don't
good.
know.
Just for show.
I'm just proud of her.
Just for show.
So tell me a little bit about Central Texas Gunworks before we get into anything.
All right, so we are a gun store. We do federal firearms license transfers. We do gun sales. We do classes. So we do private security courses. We do beginning handgun classes, license to carry handgun courses. So we actually do a lot at Central Texas Gunworks.
Wow, that's awesome.
That's great. And I assume you're a gun owner, a proud gun owner.
Absolutely. Yes, I do have. I do own several firearms. I love guns, and I love everything about guns.
Michael's like, I had so much guns, I had to start a store because I didn't know what else to do with the ones I had.
Even my guns have guns.
Exactly.
That's funny. So what exactly did Governor Abbott sign into law recently?
Right. So what we have is a Texas constitutional carry.
Yes.
That's going to go into effect September the 1st, and it's a really big deal in Texas because what this bill says, constitutional carry, is that anyone, as long as you can carry a gun, as long as you can own a gun,
Mm-hmm.
you'll be able to carry that handgun.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's a really big deal because back in the 1800s, loan guns, we've been able to carry loan guns in Texas since 1870.
Wow.
You don't need a license for that. You can walk down Congress Avenue, you can walk anywhere in Texas, carry a loaded loan gun. You can have it in your vehicle in the rifle rack. You can have it in the open, concealed, a loan gun, rifle or shotgun
You
without
said
a license.
a lone gun?
Long gun.
Okay.
Long.
Long gun.
Like a
Okay.
long,
So-
yeah, like
so-
a
so-
rifle.
okay, like a
shotgun,
rifle,
like
okay.
AR-15, AR-15, the AK-47. You
Ooh.
can have those, yeah, without a license. Well, handguns have been heavily restricted since 1870.
Mm.
So in 1870, they start restricting handguns, and ever since then, we've been trying to get those gun rights back.
Wow.
Well, here we are in 2021, come
Mhm.
September the 1st, Governor Abbott signed a bill that
Yeah.
says, hey, you know what? You're going to be able to carry your handgun without a license and walk around in Texas.
Amen. I love it. I love it.
I think it's a good idea, but there are a lot of concerns from people, as you can imagine, and some of those concerns will be, well, you're just going to let people that don't have any training get a gun. What
Right.
what could be said to people that say those things?
There are a couple things about this, okay? So if you don't have a license and you want to carry your handgun come September the 1st, well, you have to be at least 21 years of age.
Mhm.
You can't be a prohibited person from possessing a firearm under Texas law. And you must not have been convicted of assault causes bodily injury.
Mm.
You cannot be convicted of deadly conduct. You cannot be convicted of terroristic threats.
Wow.
You cannot be convicted of disorderly conduct discharging a firearm.
Mhm.
And you also cannot be convicted of disorderly conduct displaying a firearm within the previous 5 years.
Wow.
And you have to be able to buy a gun in a gun store and pass the federal firearms background check.
Mm.
So there are a lot of people that talk about universal background checks. I asked somebody, is there any legal way somebody can buy a gun without a background check?
Right.
What are
So-
those?
All right, so universal background checks, what that is, that's something that people are throwing around nowadays because they want to make sure that all gun sales are done in a gun store where a person gets a background check.
Mhm.
Currently, right now in Texas, if you want to own a gun, if you want to buy a gun, let me say that. So if you want to buy a handgun, for example, in Texas, but you're convicted of a felony, in order for you to get that handgun or that firearm, you will have to wait 5 years after you're off of paper if you're a convicted felon,
Mhm.
and you can only have a firearm at home for personal protection.
Oh wow.
So you can only have it, at home on your property. You cannot go to a gun range. Can't have it in a vehicle. You can't go to, you can't do anything with the firearm, outside of the home, your property, premises under your control, and you can use it for personal protection. But you have to get it as a private sale as a gift.
Wow.
You cannot buy it from a gun store or federal firearms license dealer.
Wow.
Why are people so concerned with the universal background check?
Well, universal background checks there's a good thing and there's a bad thing about it. Well, the bad thing is, what if I was convicted of a felony 20, 30, 40, 50 years ago,
Uh-huh.
and I've been an outstanding citizen ever since?
Mm.
I've paid my debt to society.
Mhm. Mhm.
So I was convicted of a felony. I went to prison. I paid my debt. Then I should get my rights back.
Mm.
I should, since I've been released from prison.
Yeah.
Well, the problem is, you're never going to be forgiven for that debt.
Mm.
Once you're a convicted felon, you cannot own a firearm, forever, pretty much, unless you're at home and after 5 years in Texas. Some states you can't own it at all.
Wow. Wow.
Do you have anything?
Well, no,
there?
man, it's just great getting all this information. I'm just trying to soak it in because me and my wife just became gun owners in the last couple of years, and for me, it was funny. I was talking to my mom on the way over here, and she was asking me like, "Oh, what are you doing?" I'm like, "I'm going to the podcast. We're going to talk to Michael Cargill about guns," and she kind of immediately kind of was like, "Oh." shaky about it. And I told her, I carry a gun with me at all times, like, especially the way things have been going lately, like downtown Austin. I take photos of downtown Austin, but the homelessness and all that. And so in our conversation, I was just telling her how, with the red flag laws and everything that are trying to be being passed, how that only affects people who will use the gun in the right way. The people who are getting their permits and doing the right things to own a gun are not the people who are going to go shoot up a store or shoot up anything. It's, so what you're doing is you're restricting the people who are going to use it in a rightful way to protect others, and you're opening up the avenue of, okay, you can't protect yourself. You know what I mean? And again, coming from the Valley, coming from Brownsville, I've seen a lot of drug smuggling and gun smuggling, and there's so much that goes on in the black market that I think people don't understand, and and people who want to cause harm with weapons and guns don't care about permits and don't care about laws. So what you're doing is you're restricting the free citizen, the American, from defending themselves from a tyranny like that. And after I started explaining that to my mom, she was like, yeah, definitely. Like I and so for me, it's like, I like to have a gun on me at all times just because you don't know when something's going to happen. And I am someone who I obey the law. I don't have any convictions. I have nothing on my records. And Is done everything to be an upright citizen. And I just feel, with these red flag laws, and I would love to hear how you feel about them. I'm pretty sure we would almost agree. But I know there is a story, I think it was in Alabama or somewhere, where the cops went to this guy's home to take his weapons, and he answered the door with a gun, and they shot and killed him.
Oh, yes. That happened a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, 2018. I read about that. Yeah, he refused to give up the gun. Mm-hmm. They fought with him about it, and he died. Mm-hmm. He was supposed to give it up. Sad story, too, man. But, yeah, how do you feel about these red flag laws? Dan Crenshaw's a big fan of them, I believe.
No, I think that we have enough laws on the books right now as it is.
Mm-hmm.
And I tell everyone, including my family, you need to be very cautious about calling the police to your house. If there's an issue, you have problems, I suggest you solve those problems yourself.
Yep.
Because, don't ever call the police to your house, because when you do, there are two things that are going to happen. Mm-hmm. Someone's going to get shot, they're going to die, or someone's going to jail. That's the consequence of you calling the police.
Yeah. So
if you think that you're going to call the police because you're trying to get them to de-escalate a situation, they're incapable of that. They can't do that. They don't know how to de-escalate situations. They're only going to kill someone, or they're going to arrest them. That's how it's going to happen. There's no such thing as conflict resolution or any of that stuff. So, I tell my family members, hey, something happens inside the family, I suggest you, separate each other from yourselves, go to a corner and chill and relax. Don't talk to each other. Walk around the house and just ignore each other until you're able to get together and talk. Because once you bring the police into the situation, that's going to change things.
Yeah. So, and let's say we are past September 1st, and they're regular people like you and me, David, carrying around our gun, and we get stopped by the cops. How should we act? I know we definitely shouldn't even touch the thing, but what are the protocols of a cop stopping you while you have your firearm on you?
Right. So right now, you get stopped by police. If you don't have a license, keep your hands in plain view. Roll that window down. Turn on the inside light. Don't move. The police are going to walk up to the vehicle. They're going to tell you why they stopped you, and also ask you for your identification. If I have my identification readily available, like on the visor, then I'm going to hand it to them. If I have to reach down and move my hand out of that officer's view, I'm going to tell that officer that, okay, my license is in my front left pocket. Okay. And by the way, I do have a gun on my right side.
Yes.
Oh, by the way, I do have a gun under the seat. Oh, by the way, I do have 2 guns in the back seat. Oh, and I'm sorry, I have about 6 guns in the trunk. So, what would you like for me to do? Because this is Texas, everyone's got guns. And then I'm going to listen to the officer's instructions. Okay. But then the officer will probably say, okay, we'll reach down really slowly and grab your driver's license out of your front pocket. I get my license out of my pocket. I pull it out and hand it to that officer along with my handgun license. I'm a handgun license holder. If you don't have a handgun license, hand them your ID and put your hands back on the steering wheel and just follow the officer's instructions. I'm not going to argue with the police officer. I'm not going to, the officer, if the officer's going to give me a ticket, they're going to give me a ticket.
Exactly. Yeah.
I'll let my attorney handle that.
Yeah.
That's what that's for. I'm not going to argue with that police officer. I'm not going to try to escalate the situation. I'm trying to get through that stop so I can get on about my day.
Well, and even with that, so one thing I'm just taking out of that is keep your hands visible at all times.
All times.
At
Absolutely.
all times. And even with like with an officer to let them know I have a gun or have some guns is automatically, I think, to the officer de-escalating the threat that you may be. Because if you didn't have one and you weren't knowledgeable about the law or what you should do, you wouldn't let him know. So I think once you make that knowledgeable to the cop, he would be like, okay, you're somebody who understands what's going on. You're not a threat. You know what I mean? And I don't know. I just feel like especially with everything we've had going on the last couple of years with defund the police and all that, people have a wrong view of the police. You know,
Right.
and there's, I've been pulled over a couple of times here in Austin, and I've never had issues with cops. I've said this many times on the show. I'm from Brownsville, Texas, 99.9% Hispanic. I've had more issues with police in Brownsville who are Mexican than I have in Austin who are white. And so the issue isn't the person or the color. So many times the issue is pride. Cops approach the car with pride and whatever it may be. So I think sometimes what we also need to learn as citizens is not to believe everything the media is telling us about the boys in blue. It's to say they're also people. They also have jobs. They do the things the way they do, and we need to respect one another. And what you just said right now is let them know you have a gun, put your hands on the wheel at all times. That shows respect.
Right.
And I think officers respond well to respect. So at the end of the day, it's also respect the officer who is pulling you over. Don't be that person who's pulling out your phone and recording. Oh, why'd you pull me over? Why did you do this?
Can't stand that.
Every time I get pulled over, I call my wife and I put her on FaceTime and, just in case anything were to happen. You know what I mean?
Right.
But at the same time, I also respect the cop and I make sure that he knows. I try to smile. Now I got this great mustache, so I ain't got nothing to worry about. You know what I mean? My wife told me immediately that mustache kind of makes you seem like a way happier person. So I'm kind of like, well, shit, man, I ain't got nothing to worry about now. You know what I mean?
Yeah, the cop comes up to you, they see your mustache, and they're like, okay, this guy either is going to tie up a girl on the railroad track, or he's a really cool guy. And
Right.
they could probably roll out the tracks there. So,
Nice.
hey, Michael, I asked you to recite the Second Amendment without looking at it, referring to it. Do you know it by heart?
Oh man, do I know it by heart? Do I? No, I don't know it by heart.
A well-regulated militia,
There you go.
Well-regulated militia,
being necessary
being necessary.
to the security of a free state,
Preach, my brother, preach.
the right of the people to keep and bear arms,
To
comma.
keep and bear arms
Yep.
That's right, shall not be infringed. Now,
shall not
Not.
be infringed.
There you go.
Now, you were saying all the gun laws that we have are acceptable.
Mm-hmm.
But isn't any gun law an infringement on that Second Amendment?
No, I don't think every gun law is acceptable. Okay, it's going to be up to the people to decide whether or not,
Yeah.
as a community, what is the community standard?
Mm-hmm.
That could be something totally different in Texas
Yeah.
versus what's in New York.
Mm.
So it's going to be up to the community to decide, what they think, we should do as a community, and so as a collective. On my property, we have property owner rights.
Mm.
So on my property, I like for everyone to carry a gun.
Mm-hmm.
It makes for a polite society.
Yep.
Because that's my property and premises under my control.
Yep.
So I'm all for that. And so it's going to be up to you. We have private property owner rights, and then we have the community, as far as the city,
Mhm.
what's going to be the community standard.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's, those things are going to be important.
Excellent. Why should people take a firearm course if it's not required?
Well, first of all, with permitless carry, I don't like calling this constitutional carry.
Mhm.
I actually like calling it permitless carry.
Okay.
Because if you think of constitutional carry, that's what we have with long guns. There's no restrictions.
Oh, that's already
You know-
constitutional carry.
That's right. Do you know
Okay.
you can walk into almost any business and carry a long gun in Texas? There are
Huh.
very few places that you cannot take a long gun.
Really?
Yeah, very few places. People don't even realize that.
Wow.
Very few places you can actually take a long gun. I actually did a talk in East Austin at a church for a group of Christians, and I said, they want to learn the Texas gun laws because some things changed back in 2015.
Yeah.
I said, okay, so I'm going to give them this talk. So I gave them this talk, and at the end of this talk, I said, okay, you guys have in this church, you have two signs. You have a 30.06 sign posted,
Mm-hmm.
which means a license holder cannot conceal carry handgun. And I said, you have a 30.07 sign posted, which means that a license holder cannot openly carry a handgun. So you guys have two signs posted. So what I did was I carried a little bag with me. In that little bag, I had a AR-15, taken apart in two different pieces. I had a police officer. I had 3 Austin police officers sitting on my left. I had 2 attorneys from the Travis County DA's office sitting on my right. I had one of the police officers grab my black bag. I picked up that bag. I put it on the table. I opened it up. I took an AR-15 out that I had in 2 different parts, put it together, held it up. I said, okay, in this church, this AR-15 is legal in this church. And I said, tell me why it would not be. Because the signs here, the signs that you have posted, there's a 30.0607 sign. That's all about handguns, not long guns. So in this church, I can legally bring a long gun in the church. Only way I couldn't bring a long gun in that church if they told me verbally that I could not. Or they posted a simple sign with a gun on it with a line drawn through it that says no firearms allowed. And that takes care of long guns. And most people don't know that.
Wow.
In a lot of places, you can take long guns.
So why is there this big push? Like, handguns are less, I guess, there's less stigma with handguns than there are with these bigger, scarier guns, the AKs, the ARs, etc. Why do you think there's more? Why is there a bigger push for those types of weapons other than handguns? Because handguns are clearly used in more crimes than any other gun.
Definitely.
Right.
So,
well, your elected officials, they're trying to make a statement. So in their statement, they're always pushing, AR-15s, long guns. Oh my goodness, these guns are bad.
Yeah.
But actually, the majority of your crimes, when you look at the stats, the majority of crimes are done with handguns.
Yep.
that's right.
So they're not really interested in solving crimes. They're not interested in solving violence or solving any problems that we have. They're just trying to push an agenda.
Exactly.
And try to get their side elected in the next election. Because if you really cared about people, you cared about safety, then you were focused on the handguns. But they're not. They're focusing on long guns. So that tells me that they clearly don't care about you and me. So it's best that I get a gun for my family and protect myself and my family because they don't care about our safety.
Yep. Well, and I just want to say that's literally like, what I preach to people so many times about guns is the time that it takes for an officer to get to your home to you defending yourself. What would you rather rely on? You know what I mean? Are you going to be defenseless in a closet where someone can go and break in? Or would you rather feel armed and like you can protect yourself? And I think, and the thing that bothers me so much is that Americans don't understand that the reason we have America is because there was an infringement on the right of the people in Britain. The reason that we have a free country is because the government, the big government was trying to usurp a power over the people, and the people said we're not going to have this. And so the reason we have these freedoms in America is because we saw that tyranny coming from another place, and the people who founded America said, no, we're going to make sure that that doesn't happen. How? Because we're going to be able to defend ourselves, right? Again, the Second Amendment against the government if it ever were to want to go against the people. We have to make sure that the people, and again, you were talking about community. We as a community, as the United States of America, should say, if the government ever wanted to go against us, we should be able to defend ourselves. And I feel like people don't understand that these laws that they're trying to put in place is infringing on that right. On infringing, if the government ever wanted to attack you, they're trying to disarm you from protecting yourself from them.
They don't need to disarm you. They've got F-15s and nukes. I mean, they could take you down if they wanted to.
But if we're
Joey B
but
said.
but we're allowed to own fucking bazookas and grenade launchers and fucking tanks, they can't do shit.
Like, how can
Right.
we? How can?
And here's how. I'm gonna tell you how, because I know you're gonna ask, well, how can we defend ourselves against a government? How
Yes,
can we
yeah.
defend ourselves
That's where my
military?
question. That's where my question was going
So,
to.
That's right. So you're gonna learn today. So
All right, tell me more.
Okay. So here's how we're gonna do it. So let's go back and talk about the history of Austin, Texas, and how Austin, Texas became the capital, how it remained the capital of Texas.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. There's a young lady called Angelina Eberly. Okay. I want you to remember that name. Angelina Eberly. She was a female.
Uh-huh.
And what happened was she was an innkeeper. She basically was the owner of a hotel.
Wow.
Okay. That's all it was. And so what you had was a small army, a military, a small force decided they were going to break into a building in Austin, and they were going to steal the records from Austin. Huh. And by doing that, if they would have done that, they would have changed the capital of Texas, wherever those records are held.
Wow.
But what Angelina Eberly did was she saw them break into the building, stealing the records and rummage through the files and stuff like that. So she ran out and she fired a cannon and stopped them from taking the records. And this is in the 1800s.
That's my girl right there, baby.
Oh,
Yeah.
Yeah. So do me a favor, drive down Congress Avenue
I've seen that.
in Austin, and you'll see a statue of a lady firing a cannon. That's
Yeah.
Angelina Eberly.
Oh my
And the
God.
fact that she did that, she is the reason why Austin is still the capital of Texas
That's
today.
right in front of the
Because
Frost
that young
Tower.
lady, that woman, that lady
Yep.
fired a cannon.
Yep.
So don't tell me. So I don't want anyone to ever tell me that a person, a civilian, cannot stop a military.
Woo-wee.
Yeah, but
That's,
the
talk
mili-
that talk, bro.
Yeah, but
talk that talk,
listen,
bro. Damn.
right.
So, that was 1800s time. They
That's
didn't
right.
have the nukes. I mean, we had President Biden just say like, "Listen, it's going to take a lot more than an unarmed militia. You gotta have the. We're gonna have nukes and F-15s. Like, come on, man."
Right. And what do we see in January?
Mhm.
Well, how did that military work in January when
Oh, yeah.
you had a group of people who were
Unarmed.
civilians,
Mhm.
unarmed, decide to overtake the Capitol?
Yeah.
You saw what's gonna. It's very hard for, and this is what they have a problem with. It's going to be hard for people to stop, and turn against your own people.
Yep.
You're not going to be able to do that when they stand against you.
Yeah.
And so we stand together. When we see that our country is going the wrong direction, the bad direction that it's going, and we stand together as a people, then we can stop them in doing whatever that they're doing. That's wrong.
Yeah. And I think man.
I'm not, and I'm not saying what happened in January was right or wrong. I'm just saying, we've seen what could happen.
And I'm just saying, even with January 6th, right? Like that shows so much of what America, what is about, right? They're calling an insurrection. Disagree with that, but at the end of the day, what it was, if I took anything from January 6th, it was the American people voicing their opinions and their rights. Sure.
If January 6th was an insurrection, then what do you call Portland, Oregon, when they overtook a police department?
Exactly. Yeah. Okay.
If January 6th in Washington, D.C. was an insurrection, what do you say in California? What do you say in Missouri?
Yep.
What do you say in Atlanta, Georgia? What do you say in Austin, Texas? What do you say in, and I can name every major city in this country when you had people in June of 2020 decide that they were going to break into the local police department and overtake the police department. No one talks about that.
Taking over city blocks.
Thank you.
Right, you know what I mean? Taking over, and that's exactly it. Is if we're going to call January 6th an insurrection, what are we going to call all these Black lives? Right? If you even
That is
look,
correct.
even if you look at the amount of damage that was done, the millions of dollars that Antifa and Black Lives Matters did on cities, not just cities, locally owned businesses. Black-owned businesses, right? Businesses that were owned by the people that they were supposed to be standing for, they caused more damage to that. So who were the people that were really hurt? It was the American people then. Now, right, when you look at January 6th was saying the American people was telling the government, we're done with your shit. That's what it was.
And here you are, I'm a black-owned gun store. One of the longest black-owned gun stores in this country.
I'm sorry, man. I know you're black. I don't see color.
And so, I look at June 1st. I had 8 people in 5 vehicles try to break into this gun store.
Dude, I saw that. I saw that.
8 people. Yes. 8 people, 5 vehicles. Showed up at the gun store. They tried to ram their way inside.
Yep.
They tried to shoot the front entrance of the gun store to get into the gun store. If we hadn't had the security in place that we had, we would have had, hundreds of guns out on the street in Austin, Texas.
Yep.
Because one of the guns that one of the rounds that was recovered in that incident of them trying to get in was a round that was recovered from a drive-by shooting.
Wow.
So these guys here were trying to break into the gun store to get access to more guns so they can actually commit more crimes.
Wow.
If we, so
Are we talking about last year?
No, it was
2020,
yeah,
June 1st.
That was
June 1st, yeah, because it was in the midst of all the riots and everything
When the
going
riots and protests, everything was in Austin, downtown Austin. There were protests going on. The police were focusing on downtown Austin, and so that same day, within 2 hours of each other, you had a gun store in North Austin get broken into. They had 40 guns stolen.
Yeah, yeah.
You had 2 academies were broken into. You had 2 pawn shops were broken into. You had 2 Targets were broken into. A lot of things happened on that day.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Mm-hmm.
and so this is the thing that we're talking about right here.
Yeah.
When it comes to what we're doing, this is what we're talking
Well,
about.
and even going exactly to what you're saying was my point earlier. How I was saying, talking to my mom, was the people who are going to commit crimes are not the people who are carrying permits.
That's
and
right.
and the ones who are you're trying to impose these red flag laws on, what you're doing is you're restricting their ability for them to protect not just themselves but
Right.
the community, right? Because let's say I'm at a Target and somebody's trying to rob it with a gun. Well, shit, if I have my gun on me, I'm going to try to defend somebody. So
yeah,
it's-
I mean that happened after that Walmart shooting. And
Yeah.
someone walked in with a gun. A man
Yep.
with a legal gun. I think it was a fireman or maybe a cop off duty. Stopped that person.
Yep.
We don't hear about these stories.
Yeah, exactly. And and so many times not in the mainstream media, but if you actually read the news, there's so many times where people have tried to shoot up churches, and security guards, or even people in churches who own guns will defend the church and shoot and scare them away or whatever it be. So that's what I mean is, when you're trying to pass these red flag laws, all you're doing is limiting the law-abiding citizen from their freedom.
I think they overlooked that, but I think their intent is that they want to get guns away from these evil people. How do we stop evil people from doing evil things?
We're not. Honestly, you're not going to. There's evil, and evil exists. Evil exists all the way from day one with Cain and Abel.
Amen, brother. Come on,
So,
preach that.
You go way back,
Yep.
to the first, the first man and woman on this
Yep.
planet, on this earth, and so you're not going to stop evil.
Yep.
It exists.
It
But
goes
what we
on.
can do, right? What we can do is we can make sure that we do have the tools, because even Jesus said it when he said it to his disciples. He said,
Mhm.
"You know what? If you don't have a sword, I suggest you go ahead and sell your cloak and
Yeah.
buy yourself
Yep.
a sword."
Sell your tunic. Yep. Well, and even with that, man, and this is a conversation I get on almost on a monthly basis, is how do we stop evil? And and not to get too religious on it, but for me, that's where the gospel comes in, because the gospel is a thing that attacks the heart. And so what we try to do within our community, and I was talking to a few guys from the church the other day, and I was saying, what the laws really do is show the sin of the people. The more laws that we make, it just shows how sinful we are and how evil we are. The more, right? Like, if you have to make more and more rules, it just shows that person is more and more fucked up. And at the end of the day, there's nothing that we can do other than preach the gospel and share Jesus to people and say, this is what goodness looks like, and this is how goodness overcomes evil. But that's where government does come into play, right? Government is God's means in restricting evil in the community and expanding goodness in the community. And at the end of the day, we're not going to be able to do that with laws. And people think laws are the only way to govern a society, but it isn't, right? To me, the Bible says love is the way you govern a community. And if you love one another rightly and you serve one another rightly, then that community will learn how to defend itself from evil. And so, but again, living in Austin, Texas, you have an amalgam of people from so many backgrounds and so many things, to where we need so many laws here, right? When you look at when COVID came into place, the smaller towns didn't need mask mandates, because everybody there knows one another. I know you, Bob. You come here every day. I don't, I know you, Tim. I know you, Brandy, whatever your name is. But when it comes to Austin, there's such a difference of people that we don't really know one another. And so we wear the mask because it's like, I don't know who you are. And you see what a small community does and a big community does. When you look at the rural places didn't need masks, and they had almost no deaths from COVID. But the cities were the ones who were passing the mask mandates that had more deaths.
Right. Let me tell you a story of my great-grandfather. My great-grandfather was 96 when he died.
Oh, that's a good
My
life.
my great-grandfather was a retired minister. And my great-grandfather would always, you keep this little Bible with him. And he said, "Michael, I like to bring everyone the Lord." He always had that Bible with him. He always kept that Bible. He said, "Michael, I like to bring bring everyone the Lord. He said, if I can't bring them the Lord, what he did was he opened up that Bible. In the middle of that Bible, there was a hole cut out. He said, if I can't bring them the Lord, he reached into that Bible. He grabbed a revolver. He said, if I can't bring them to the Lord, I'm going to send them to the Lord.
Ooh, that's fire right there,
Great
bro.
grandfather. So, we got a viewer question here. It sounds like it's someone from Austin here. What should be done about the rising crime and homicides happening in Austin right now?
All right, so we have a problem with this defunding the police, you know, and I understand it, I get it, you know, that people are upset because law enforcement, they're upset with how certain people are treated by law enforcement. You know, well, here's my remedy to that situation. When a police officer does something wrong, what a concept. How about you prosecute him? That's how you solve that problem.
Wow.
We do need police. I need police. Okay. When I called 911, when someone broke into the shop, I needed police to respond.
Yep.
You know, the fact that we didn't have enough police on the road, that causes a problem.
Yep.
And so, you know, because I'm trying to stop guns from getting out onto the streets in illegal hands. And so we do need police. We need law enforcement. But when they do something wrong, we need to hold them to the higher standard because they are the top tier of the society.
Yep.
And as a police officer, we need to hold them to a much higher standard. So when they do something wrong, we need to prosecute them to the full extent of the law for doing something wrong, you know, and we're not doing that. And so we need to fund the police and not defund the police and hold them accountable. What a concept.
Yeah.
Well,
Well, hold up a second. We played this video of a professor berating a kid, right?
Yep.
And she was going to the point where, you know, cops kill people, right? Like, oh, well, I don't trust cops.
Yeah.
They don't call them.
They kill people. I would never call them. And she had this idea that they're so evil and bad, that all of them are bad. That all cops are good.
And then she went on to say, I have family members who are cops, right? So then, are you telling me that your family members are evil?
Right.
It's incredible, but it's becoming common knowledge to these people, right? These tropes have become common knowledge, like semi-autos. When people hear semi-autos, what does that mean to the normal person? Like they think that sounds like a gun that goes ga 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 ga. They don't have any idea. They use terms like assault weapons. Like they're literally changing the language to mean something to fit their narrative, because assault weapons is. What does that mean? Especially
that's a verb. Assault is a verb.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And when you say an assault weapon, or no, they say assault rifle.
Bro, real quick, how fucking smart was that remark? Assault is a verb.
Yeah.
Like, what the fuck are you talking about? Assault is a verb.
I'm here to tell you.
I was looking up some stats on like the source and use of guns in the USA here, and it's quite enlightening here. And I've got a couple things. Can you pull them up? Can he see any of those? If we pull them up, I'll just tell you what we're looking at here.
Okay.
So this is a survey on federal and state prisoners who possessed a firearm during an offense for which they were serving time, and one thing here I read is that they've obtained a firearm because they plan to use it in an offense. Yes or no? Did they get this gun to do this crime? And state prisoners, 80.7% said no, they didn't. Federal prisoners, 80% no. Violent crime, so it's 75 or above here, but the small percentage, 19%, it's between 17 and 25% people bought their gun to do a crime.
Wow.
And then you ask yourself, where did they get this gun? And so you look up here. This thing's got everything, and I think we'll post it up. It comes from bjs.ojb.gov. And so table 5 here, among state and federal prisoners who had possessed a firearm during the offense for which they were serving time, sources and methods used to obtain a firearm. Where did they get the firearm here? And so as we can see here, 43, an overwhelming percentage here, 43% got it off the street or underground market. Now, people would cite about this, and I want to ask your opinion about it here in a second. But
so what you're saying is they're not going to Michael's store.
They're not.
And,
They're not.
And buying the gun from
Matter of
him
fact,
to commit a crime. What they're doing is they're going to a black market, some
Right.
shady place.
Matter of
and
fact,
getting it.
only 8%, as high as 8%. I take it back. 9.6% of these felons bought a gun at the gun store.
Wow.
9%.
Wow.
Now, that also says gun shop, gun store, like a gun show. You think there'd be more because there's this big push for the gun show loophole I've heard
Wow.
about so much recently and in the past. Prisoners, what do you think the percentage is that these violent felons used a gun they bought at a gun show? What do you think it would be? What percentage?
Probably pretty high.
Buying at a gun show. Believe it
I
or
would
not,
say
it's only
47%.
47.
actually it's 0.8% of prisoners.
Wow.
Wow.
So where do they get the guns from?
Well, it's overwhelming 43% that they're buying it off the street. It's theft from burglary,
Yep.
Other source found it, but everything
Wow.
but the
So
flea
what a
market, the
what a
pawn
concept.
shop.
Everything we're told is a lie.
Yeah.
It's
Everything.
but it's such common knowledge to these people. When I talk to people, they go, "Oh, but we got to close the gun show loophole." So what is this gun show loophole they keep talking about?
All right, so you have people that want to do private sales, from one private person to another. And so there's a place that you want to go to where other people are interested in the product that you're selling. And so the places that you want to go to where people interested in the product that you're selling is going to be a gun show. So if I'm a private person selling my private stash, I'll go to a gun show to try to sell that stash. But as a dealer, as a federal firearms licensed dealer, no matter where I do my transaction, you have to get a federal firearms background check. If not, then I'm committing a felony.
Wow.
So it doesn't matter even if I'm selling a gun in a gun show as a dealer, I have to do a background check.
The guns were bought legally through a background check period previously. Right. So what if they had their way and they had their laws in action? Like, you wouldn't be able to give your son, your daughter, your granddaughter, whatever, a firearm without running a background check on them first.
Right. So if universal background check passes, that means that every gun sale, every gun transaction will have to be done, in a gun store with a background check. That means that if you want to give someone a gun, background check. You want to let someone borrow your gun, background check. You want to give a gun to your son, background check. You want to give a gun to your daughter, background check. And everything will have to be done in the gun store. You're a convicted felon. You're convicted of domestic violence. I don't care if you did it like 50 years ago. You've been a great citizen ever since. You paid debts to society. You will not be able to get a gun at all if you pass universal background checks. Because if you pass universal background checks, that convicted felon who can actually have a gun after 5 years under Texas law will not be able to get their hands on a gun if universal background checks are passed, because that means it will eliminate private sales.
Wow.
So how does that stop somebody from getting a gun and committing a mass murder? Like, all these rules, I just want to know, like, at what point does it stop that person from obtaining some sort of weapon that they can use to kill a lot of people?
It's not going to stop criminals from getting access to guns, because criminals, they're going to steal guns, and they're going to sell guns on the black market. That are there. They're going to scratch off the serial numbers, which they're using the term ghost guns nowadays.
Yeah.
They're saying, "Oh my goodness, they're getting ghost guns and committing crimes." Well, when you say ghost guns to me, that terminology tells me that that's some gun that someone made at home without a serial number.
Yeah.
But that's not true. Police are using that term very loosely. When they're using it nowadays, when they're saying ghost guns, they're referring to guns that the serial number has been scratched off the gun.
Expanding
wow.
the definition.
Wow.
They're tricking you with that terminology.
It seems to be their MO lately. And we actually have an Austinite, Cody Wilson, who's came up with what did he do? He distributed plans for a 3D gun, right?
Yeah.
3D printed gun.
I've heard so many people doing that.
Now,
that's my brother.
Oh, Cody Wilson?
That's right. That's my brother.
Oh, yeah.
My brother from another mother.
Oh,
we
yeah.
We do brunch every now and
Ooh,
then.
hey, bro, we got to do brunch sometime, bro. I'm telling you.
Tell him we said hi. We're big fans of him, and I think it's good if you're able to make your own gun, if you're able to have these things, the last thing that you're going to do, I feel, is like use it for any evil purposes, But there are evil people to do that, and I think all these laws that they put in place, they think they're going to stop evil people, but it actually infringes on our Second Amendment rights.
Amen.
And they don't take account that a good guy with a gun We'll
Right.
stop a bad guy with a gun
Yep.
100% of the time.
Yep.
That's right.
And I'm just in my head. I don't know if you, Michael. I don't know if you're a It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia fan, but I know Los, you like that
I
show.
love that show.
But there's an episode where they're trying, right? Frank Reynolds, their dad, is trying to sell more guns because he's related to this gun store, and the more guns that he gets to sell with his gun store, the more money he makes. And so his kids, Dennis and Dee, they tried to prove a point. Oh, you can buy a gun you could buy a gun so easy.
Right.
And
right.
so they try to buy a gun, and through, earlier in the season they were addicted to crack. And yeah, it's great. So they were addicted to crack. So that comes up in their records. And it's like, oh, you guys show use of drugs and this and that. We can't sell you a gun. So then they try to go to a gun show, and they try to buy a gun. And the guy's like, oh, yeah, this AK-47 is about $5,000. And they're like, wait, but at this gun store, it was $800.
Right.
Why am I paying you more? And then they pull, and they're like, well, what if I just wanted to pull my gun out and take it from you? And then everybody in that gun show takes a gun out.
Yeah, everyone's
Right.
caught.
You know what I
right.
mean? And
Right.
so even with that, like, if you're gonna buy a gun illegally, it isn't gonna be as cheap as a gun that you would sell in your store would be.
Right. Exactly. And I want to go back and touch on constitutional carry. Since you said that.
Yeah.
When it comes to constitutional carry in Texas, I want to remind people:
Can't
if
point
you
that
want to
thing.
walk around in Texas and you want to carry a handgun, come September the 1st, you have to, be able to own the gun under Texas law.
Mm-hmm.
You can't be convicted of assault cases, bodily injury. Can't be convicted of deadly conduct. Can't be convicted of terroristic threats. You can't be convicted of disorderly conduct discharging a firearm. You can't be convicted of disorderly conduct displaying a firearm in the last 5 years. Now, but there's some good things about, getting your license.
Mm-hmm.
There's some good things about getting a license to carry a handgun and taking a class. And I encourage everyone, if you're not going to, let's say you want to carry a handgun come September 1st, I suggest you take a class because, one, in the class we talk about use of force and deadly force. The governor has signed a bill that says you can carry a gun, but when can you use that gun? When can you shoot someone?
Yep.
Can you shoot someone for, who's in your backyard? Can you shoot someone in your front yard? Can you shoot someone, who's breaking into your car during the daytime? What about the nighttime? There's some things about the law that you need to learn, and you can only learn that by taking a class and someone needs to explain that to you. Also, it's good to have a license if you're going to buy a gun. You want to buy a gun, you walk to the gun store with a license to carry a handgun, boom. We don't have to call the FBI to do the background check on you. Your background check's already been done.
Really?
That's right.
Really? Wow.
It's good to have a license if you want to travel in other states. If you want to take your gun to other states, got to have that license to carry a handgun.
So why not require a test if, like, we do for obtaining a driver's license? Why not make that a thing for constitutional carriers? That way we have the right mind. We know everyone is taking at least the basic course. Like we assume all the drivers are out there. There's still going to be assholes out there on the road.
Those Asians.
But they all have a license, we assume.
Those Asians.
Take.
I'm not Los.
Michael knows. Michael knows.
Los is a half Asian, so I can say that.
Well,
Look,
I
get a lot of little death threats and all kinds of little threats. See? And the last thing I want is Asian lady tracing me down the road. I'm driving.
I tell you. I don't know if y'all know Miss Kim from Mad TV.
Yeah.
Miss Kim, I love Miss Kim's food. Okay,
Yep.
and I don't want Miss Kim putting something in my
Yep,
food when I
yep.
go to her store.
I
So
tell
I'm not gonna talk about Miss Kim.
you, he looking like a man.
He look like a man. But seriously, why not? Do you think it would be a good idea to make this thing like a license, just to have a license? It's probably free. Let's make it free, but you got to take a test federally. Is that such a bad idea?
Well, some people think that infringes on the Second Amendment. They
Yep.
think that that's an infringement. That's a little too harsh because not everyone can read. But we can, someone can explain it to them. I've had people take a license to carry handgun course that could not read.
Wow.
I had to read them the tests.
Wow.
I've had people take the license to carry handgun course that can't see, that were blind. They failed the shooting portion. They couldn't get their license. I've had people take the license to carry handgun course that couldn't hear, that were deaf. So I've had people take a license to carry handgun course that didn't speak English, only spoke Spanish, spoke French,
So
a lot of different languages.
so almost kind of what you're saying is, in a weird way, is like as long as you're in America, you should be able to defend yourself,
Absolutely.
whether or not
Doesn't
you.
matter.
Yeah,
Even if you're blind, even
yeah,
if you're deaf,
exactly.
even if you don't speak English, you should be able to
Whether or
defend
not
yourself.
you know how to use the handgun, that's not the question. Is, are you able to defend yourself?
That is correct.
Wow.
But it is still good to get a license. It's still good to take a class. If let's say you want to drop your kids off at school. Do you know that if you're on school, you're within 1,000 feet of a school, you're violating a federal law.
Yeah.
There's a no gun zone.
Wow.
But guess what? The exception to the no gun zone if you have a license to carry a handgun from the state that you live in. So when you get your license, you're exempt from the federal law. So it's good to have a license there. It's also good to have a license when you're, if you're, under 21. Let's say you got to be in the military. Let's say I'm in the military. I'm 18, 19, 20 years old. At 18, 19, or 20, someone who's in the military can get a license to carry a handgun and carry a gun. If you're not in the military, you can't get a license to carry a handgun at 18, 19, or 20. It's good to have a license to carry a handgun if you're a school employee. You work for a school, and you're parking in the parking lot of a school. You got to have your license to carry a handgun in order to do that. Without a license, you're committing a crime. It's good to have a license if you're on private property. So if I'm on private property, I walk into a business, they say, hey, no guns are allowed. There's a sign posted. I don't see the sign. I don't notice it. If I have a license, they have to give me verbal notice. Without a license, if I don't have a license, I'm committing a crime. It's good to have a license if you're.
Can you go into a bar with your, like they have that 50%, 51% rule, right? Could you go into a bar with an LTC?
So, okay. Now, the bars are going to be a little complicated. So bars, if they're 51%, if they're a true 51% on the TABC's website where it says gun sign red, then no, you cannot take a gun there. But if it says gun sign blue with a license to carry handgun, you can take your gun there.
Wow.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, hey, we're pressed for time here. We only got about a minute here.
One more. Also,
Go for it. Go for it.
The airport. And so at the airport, if you want to go to the airport, boom. If you go to the checkpoint at the airport, you forget you have your gun in your bag. They say, boom, 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 you got a gun in your bag. With a license to carry handgun, you can say, oops, my bad. Without a license, that's a felony.
Wow.
Wow.
I need to get one real quick.
And so, do they make you check it if you have a license to carry?
So the gun's got to be checked.
Okay.
So there are a lot of good reasons why you need to have a license to carry a handgun.
And we can still obtain one even after the permitless carry, as you would call it here. Are they still going to be offered?
Yeah, absolutely. So license to carry handguns are still going to be offered. I encourage everyone to take the class. Even if you're not going to get the license, you're going to carry a gun in the constitutional carry or permitless carry, take the class, learn the laws of where you can, where you cannot take the handgun, and what you cannot do.
Well, Michael, thank you for joining us. Tell everybody that's watching where they can find you if they want to learn more about this.
Absolutely. You can go to our website, which is centraltexasgunworks.com. I'm on Facebook, centraltexasgunworks.com. We're on Twitter, Centex Guns. We're everywhere. Just try centraltexasgunworks.com. You can find me.
We're going to tag you on this fucking clips, man.
That's
And
right.
if anyone ever tells you, you tell them this. More guns equals less crime. So you go out there and you buy yourself a gun.
Let's go, baby.
Thank you, Michael Cargill. Thank you very much.
Absolutely. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you guys for watching. We're going to continue on to the other side here in just a couple seconds. So thank you guys for watching. If you guys like our content, feel free to check us out on all your favorite podcast platforms. And don't forget YouTube. We'll be back. Thank you very much.
Yeah. So, Michael.
Yes. Okay.
Man,
hey,
dude.
so, hey.
We're
officially off the air on public access. Now we're still streaming live to Facebook and YouTube.
Okay. So one thing I want to talk about now that we're fucking off the public access shit is exactly what you were saying earlier. Is if you're convicted of terrorist crime, this and this and that, right? How do you feel? And this is my conspiracy theorist Alex Jones Infowars mind thinking. How do you feel about what happened with January 6th, where they're labeling so many Americans and so many patriots as terrorists now?
They're going to lose their gun rights forever.
Wow,
Forever.
man. Just
forever.
because
If
the
all those,
government.
they're gonna settle. They're gonna settle that case. They're gonna settle. They're gonna do what
Okay,
they
real
call
quick.
the
Los didn't hear this, so I asked you with January 6th happening, and
Mhm,
something you were saying the last hour was
mhm,
if you are convicted as terrorist threats. So
mhm.
now what I'm doing is I'm connecting the two things.
Are they preventing them from
Yeah, yeah.
being able to get
Well,
guns
yeah,
later?
yeah. So,
And if it's a felony, they're gonna all those people that are convicted of felony, they sell that case. They do a a deal. They sign a deal where they don't they because hey, we're gonna convict you of a felony, but we're not gonna give you no jail time. They're
mm,
gonna lose their gun rights forever.
wow.
Wow.
Wow. And that's not because they were actual terrorists,
No,
but that's because the media and,
that's right.
and the government right now has an agenda that they're trying to push it as if, look at them. They
Because
were trying to cause an insurrection. That's
these
terrorism.
people are very influential in their community. They're very
Mm,
influential online in other places. So if they can get them convicted of a felony, then that's because guess what? Come next election, they're out of the way.
wow, man. And that's something, again, there's so many things, that I've read in the past and all that where I think about how the government tries to make a way to almost force the American people to give up their rights. And for me, I'm a big thinker. I like to think a lot. And when I look at so many cases or murders, or I read books and all that kind of stuff, you see how there's people smart enough to create an agenda in order to get the end result that they want. And when it came to January 6th, from everything I've seen and everything I've watched and everything I've read, it seems like it was almost less than 1% of the people who actually were at the rally invaded the Capitol. Let's say there was 500,000
They're
people
mostly
there.
peaceful.
Yeah, let's say there was 500,000 people there and 200 people invaded the Capitol. That is a small percentage. But what that is doing is how you just said, it's something. It's allowing these people to disarm themselves and even the community to say, if you agree with this, we will allow you to leave. You don't get any jail time. You're free to go. And what are they doing? They're saying anybody who was in Washington, D.C. on that day is going to be interrogated and questioned. So now those 500,000 people who were there are now being they're being assaulted because the 200 people who attacked the Capitol. And now those 500,000 people are being told, if you sign this waiver, we won't give you jail time, but low key, you're going to lose your rights of owning a gun. How dangerous is that in the community that we're living in right now?
That's very dangerous. I would never ever allow someone to convict me of a felony. That's serious.
Yeah.
That's very serious.
Yeah.
So, there are efforts right now, voting efforts, where they say they're against voter ID. You know what they call that? They say that's voter suppression. Now, could we say the same thing about guns? Like, these guys want voter ID. They want an ID so that I can buy a gun. Isn't that?
Need a gun. You need a gun for everything. Yeah, I mean, you need a license for a license for everything. If you want to buy a gun, you got to have a driver's license. You got to have some type of ID. If your driver's license is expired, you can't buy a gun. If your driver's license doesn't have the correct address on it where you live, then you're gonna have to either show us some other documentation or you can't buy a gun.
Wow.
It's very strict when it comes to buying a gun.
Yeah, what are
So we hold-
I remember having to fill out like a checklist. Are you addicted to marijuana, or like what are the questions on there?
Damn, you felt that, right?
That was like the bottom one. It said, "Are you addicted to marijuana?" And I was like, "No."
You're like, well, what do you mean by addicted?
What's the definition of is? I need to know what is. But yeah, that's sort of that's federal. So
I was just checking my driver's license right now to see if I had my current address. Mine do right here. I was like, wait, hold on real quick. Let me see if my address is right.
I got a new one here. Let's see. But what is this end game? Like, so people, there all these efforts with gun control, they call it common sense gun control. Like, what's the end game?
The end game is to actually to make sure that certain people can't have access to guns.
Yeah.
You got to think about gun control and the history of gun control and where it started in this country. Gun control started back in the 1600s. In the 1600s, they did not want Indians to have access to firearms. That was the first gun control law. The second gun control law in the country was in the 1600s, where you could not repair firearms to Indians. The punishment of that was death if you did that.
Wow.
Then after that, you had Jim Crow laws. They did not want free slaves to have access to guns. So when you look at gun control laws, they're always targeting certain groups of people to have access to firearms. In Texas, when you speed forward, in Texas, they say, hey, free slaves are not even welcome in Texas. If you do step foot in Texas, you couldn't have access to a firearm. And then they said, okay, guess what? Majority of people live down in Galveston, Texas. Down in Galveston, everyone's got rifles. They have shotguns. They have other tools. So we're not going to regulate long guns. But we're going to start regulating handguns. So if you look at all the aspects of our gun laws, it's always about certain groups of people. In the handgun license law, there's a clause about gang members. Gang members is code word for black or Hispanic or whatever. Certain people. That's what gang members are. Gang members cannot carry a gun in Texas. If you're a gang member and you're carrying a gun, you're committing a crime. So, in a vehicle, you as a gang member, you can't have a gun in the vehicle currently right now. Come September the 1st, that's going to change.
Wow.
It's going to flip-flop a little bit. So as a person who's carrying under the Constitution, constitutional carry or permanent carry, as a gang member, you cannot carry a gun as a gang member.
Wow.
What's a gang member?
I don't know. What is a gang member?
Well, and I just
how do they prove you're a gang?
Well,
in a
even
gang?
with that, like I feel like when you read history, especially in New York and other places, gangs were there to protect the people. So many times when you see gangs in communities, the reason that a gang starts is because they see the corruption within the police system that's going on. And so gangs sometimes are there to regulate their community because they know the community. They understand the community. They know the people around the block, and they know the crack dealers, they know the drug dealers, they know the murderers. And so gangs are there to regulate that because they also know that if the cops, and almost what Michael was talking about earlier, if the cops come into play, there's going to be some shit that's going to pop off. Somebody's going to get shot. Somebody's going to get arrested. And you see this a lot with the mafia. You see this a lot with other types of like Hispanic, the 13 gang and shit like that, where they regulate their own because it avoids the government and the police from coming in.
Right. That's right. And guys, my company is they're getting restless. I'm gonna have to go.
Yeah.
Oh,
Dude,
man,
thank you
do
for
your
joining
thing,
us.
brother. Thank you
I
so much,
I saw
man.
you munching. I was like, we gotta let him go.
I was gonna say, are you eating chicken, bro?
Oh, stop it.
Bro, I was gonna say, man, you can't do that on camera, dude, because then you're gonna live up to the stereotype, and I
it
can't
is what
do
it
that.
is.
It's like me
Hey.
being on camera
my
eating
God.
some
I like chicken,
tacos,
I like
bro.
watermelon is what I do.
Bro, you better not have any grape juice on you. That's all I gotta say.
I love
I
grape
don't.
juice.
You're off the hook. I don't.
Hey, and Michael Cargill, thank you so much
Bro,
for
thank
joining
you
us,
so
man.
much, man. We appreciate you, my brother. Thank you so
forever
much.
in debt. And
Thank you very much for having me.
thank you for joining us, man. Talk to you later. Have a wonderful night. Have a good weekend.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. You too.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
All right. So, we've still got some stuff to talk about on the other side, but first I want to get into this story here.
I gotta go to the bathroom real quick.
Oh, I want you to watch,
Okay.
listen to this story. Well, here we'll go into the Philippines first. I want you to watch this because hold your piss. This
Okay,
is going to be
I
great.
could do it for like 15 minutes.
So I have a whole other document for the other side.
Was that racist that I brought up the chicken shit?
No, he's a good sport about it. I was gonna say something about like his watermelon colored shirt. He looks like a watermelon seed.
Man, we gotta have him on again, bro. I feel like there's so much more we can talk about. That dude is like, and I before the show, I was watching some of his stuff and some of his interviews, and legit guy,
Dude,
exactly what I thought he was gonna
Dude,
be.
he's someone I would just love to fucking barbecue
Yeah,
with and just fucking
100%,
shoot the
bro.
shit, man.
Yep, literally shoot.
Hop to
Shit.
22 seconds on that one. So, okay, let's travel to the Philippines here, where they're really handling this crisis of the coronavirus, man. They're trying to handle it. So they've got this president. His name is Rodrigo Duterte. Duterte. And this is in Tagalog, but one thing I did here is no, just 22 seconds. 22 seconds in. He's going to speak a little bit of Tagalog. He'll say some English first, but then he's going to say something. I'm going to translate this afterwards because I had to send this to my mom, who's a, genuine
thoroughbred,
genuine Filipino,
fucking red blood, bro.
And I could not believe what he said here. So just go ahead and play this.
Kung ayaw mo magpabakuna, ipa-aresto
no,
kita.
go back 20.
At ang bakuna ay galing tusok ko sa puwit mo, putang.
Okay, go back to 22. I'm sorry, I talked over it.
Visit kayo. Emergency. Kung ayaw mo magpabakuna, ipa-aresto kita. At ang bakuna ay galing tusok ko sa puwit mo, putang.
Okay, great. So go back to 17 seconds, and I'm going to translate you what he says here. Listen to this.
Being faced in this country. There is a national emergency. Kung ayaw mo
if you do not want to
magpabakuna,
get
ipa-aresto
vaccinated,
kita. At ang
I will get the
bakuna ay
needle
galing
and stick it
tusok ko
in
sa
your
puwit mo,
fucking ass, you
putang.
motherfucker.
Visit kayo. Hirap na nga tayo. Tapos nandiyan pa
Is
kayo
that what he
pakarayan.
said?
Dude, this is absolute. Dude, fact check this. This is 100% for real. He says if you do not want to get vaccinated, I will stick the needle and stick it in your fucking ass, you motherfucker. But apparently this is the way this guy talks. He goes, I was chatting to my mom and she goes, I hate this guy. He's so rude. And this is the way he talks. Like, we think that Donald Trump was like the worst president ever. This guy says, if you don't get vaccinated, I will get the needle and stick it in your fucking ass, you motherfucker. And
What the
I know
fuck?
he's saying motherfucker because he says putang. And
Putang.
Putang is like, you
Like
say putang,
puta.
putang na mo. That's like a bad word.
Well, because in Spanish, puta is like bitch.
Yeah, and they share, dude. Spanish and Tagalog, they share a lot of the same
But
words.
you gotta leave it there and look at the camera. We're the same. We're the same motherfuckers.
Putang na mo.
Putang.
Yeah. Anyways, you can take a piss now. But I thought that was.
Oh yeah, okay.
I
Dude,
thought-
that's fucking crazy, bro.
That is so fucking funny. And he has these things where he says, if you don't want to get vaccinated, he says, go to fucking India. You don't want to fucking get vaccinated, go to fucking America. We have a fucking national crisis here, and if you're not into it, I'll fucking take you myself and jab you in the fucking ass. You know what we're gonna do? He said he's gonna stick you with a drug they give to pigs. That's what he said too. Rodrigo, I like this guy. I think he's funny. I would not want to be under his rule. Trust me, I do not. But dude, that's too fucking funny. Okay, yeah, I want to read this story here with David because this man went on a shooting spree. He targeted black men, and you need to know about this because we talked about shootings today, and I wanted to get all the news that we can and relate it just to gun news. We had talked about Biden talking about, hey, you wanna take on the government. Yeah, he sounds like Bill Clinton. I'll work on the Biden, but he says you want to take on the government, you're gonna have to have F-15s and nukes. Like, holy fuck! Did you just like sort of threaten the Americans who question you? Like, honestly. But then we have this thing here. This man went on a shooting spree. He targeted black men.
Damn it.
Racially charged, dude. This is a fucking terrible story, and I'll tell you a
son
little
of a
bit about
bitch.
it. A 39-year-old man, this comes from ledgerinquirer.com. He was charged in a weekend shooting spree. He told Columbus police his assaults were racially motivated. He admits it. Targeting black men, he felt he had taken targeting white men he felt had taken from him all his life, a detective testified Monday. Though police allege Justin Tyron Roberts was involved with 3 separate assaults that wounded 5 people Friday and Saturday in Columbus and Phoenix City, he was in Columbus's recorder's court to face charges in just one of these incidents and shooting around 2 p.m. That's where a man was shot in the back as he was getting into his vehicle, parking under a bridge. Roberts told the police, I had to have him.
Yeah.
I had to have him. The victim was hit once in the back. 4 bullets hit his vehicle. Police found 6 shell casings. Under questioning by public defender Robin King, Lockhart elaborated on what Roberts... Wait a minute. Who is black? Oh, I thought this was a white guy who is black. told him it in here. Go to the next link here because this is interesting here because we have a story here that is racially motivated.
Yeah, big time.
That it's self-admitted. You think this would be everywhere if this was a white guy.
Yep.
Right? Because you were interested for a second. You were like, oh, shit, another white guy. Fuck, of course.
Yeah, those fucking Nazis.
And I go, okay, well, news is news. This was a real fucking news bit. Certainly the most trusted name in fucking news has tons of stuff about it. So I went to CNN and plugged in his name, Justin Tyron Roberts. And what do you know? One single story. A suspect has been arrested in connection with 3 shootings in less than 24 hours in Georgia and Alabama. Can you click on that?
Wow.
And I want you to find at all where it says that this was a black man or that it was mostly racially motivated.
It doesn't say. It doesn't.
Because just imagine if the races were reversed on this one. It's hard to imagine it. There's one story. That's it. It's one
It
story.
doesn't even let you read the whole thing.
Yeah, click on the
Let's see.
hyperlink.
Okay.
This comes from June 12th. So this is ancient Chinese news, but what?
June 13th. That's not that long ago. That was like a week ago.
So look, arrested in 3 separate shootings, 24 hours, 5 people. They were able to apprehend the suspect.
well, it
Police
says
check.
Freddie Blackmon.
Black.
That's close. That's close.
That's a Jamaican
That's
dude.
close.
He's a black
You're
man.
telling me you're a black man?
Justin Tyron Roberts was charged with aggravated assault, possession of a firearm during the commission of a crime, possession of firearm, convicted of that, blah, 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 blah. CNN is determined if he had legal representation because, we trust this guy. And we just keep going through it. Tell me where you see that this is a black man here. Isn't this interesting?
Wow.
Okay.
Oh, they
boom.
have a picture.
They have a picture of him. That's good. At least there's a picture of him.
There's a picture.
But at some point,
Said
that
black man.
if you find, and let's just pretend the races were reversed, would you be surprised to see that they would name him and go,
Bro,
a white man?
every
Justin
second.
Tyron Roberts, a white man. Blackman said the investigators are working to establish if there were any connections between the suspect and the victims. No, he said it's just he just had to have them.
Yep.
And it's interesting how this is it. That's all they're going to say in here. The community is trying to send a message that we're not going to tolerate this senselessness anymore. Just the only words of black right here are the police chief, Blackmon.
Damn, dude.
It's so interesting how, and this is the only story. They didn't even update it because they found out later that he admitted to it being racially motivated.
Oh, no.
They didn't even bother to update that. Oh, it says, okay. What is that? Oh, that's the one that I have here. Who is black? Who is black? It pops up here because
2 white males and a black female.
and you're saying white males, you're saying black males. What's the problem with saying this? Like, they only want to. This is the problem here.
Who is black?
This is not CNN, by the way, but they only want to show you the news where it fits their narrative.
Yep.
Their gun control narrative. Well, who's got the guns we want to taken away?
Well,
are the white boys, the Proud Boys, the gangs
well,
he was talking about.
And kind of what you're talking about, if you've been on our TikTok in the last day, we've been talking about McAfee. And there's a clip that we put on there that he's talking about how the media reports on
Divorce.
Yeah. So he was talking about divorce, and he was talking about like how many of you were divorced because you cheated on your spouse. How many of you are married now? How many of you are cheating on your spouse now?
And then
nobody, right? And it's because the media is withholding things and letting things known for the purpose of a story. You know, and he's showing. You see how you guys are. You see how you guys manipulate things. You see how you guys use things only to benefit yourselves. And that's exactly what you see here. The reason they're not saying a color on CNN is because they know what it's going to do.
Speaking of benefiting yourself, there's a great new John Stossel video. We're not going to watch it here, but it's about Ayn Rand. And basically just praising her.
You have my attention.
Yeah.
I've never watched the movie Atlas Shrugged.
You need to read the book.
I need to read the book,
Yeah.
but there's this part in it that he plays.
Or The Fountainhead. Or
Fountainhead.
Anthem. Or We the Living.
Yeah, but basically...
Or The Romantic Manifesto. Or...
I already know I love her just based on the idea that, like, what is the? I've always said it's such a libertarian stance that she talks. Like if somebody wants to make money, and then the after the Shrugged movie, I think it was maybe the second one. He showed a clip on it, and he goes, he's talking in front of a grand, like the Supreme Court or something.
And I do not recognize the authority of this court to chart.
Well, they basically ask him, like, what do you, like, you make all this money, but what do you, like, you say you don't care, like, and you're doing this for selfish reasons.
He's like, I do care.
He's like,
I care about money.
Yeah, I care about money. But they go, but what does this benefit mankind? He goes, like, basically, I make something and it helps people.
Yeah.
But I'm doing this because I want to make money. But yet it still helps people. That's like so libertarian. That's so as fuck.
But
you
also,
don't need to be altruistic.
No, but that's also very capitalist.
That's
right?
exactly what it is. That's what she was trying to capture.
I want to make money, but I want to make money in a way that also benefits society. And that's
I
where
don't think they do it to do that.
Well, no,
It just does do that.
Well, and
That's the benefit of
Yeah,
doing
that's a
it.
repercussion of doing it. But at the end of the day, that's also what capitalism is all about. Capitalism is, what is your passion, and you should be making money off of your passion. Now, when you look at something that is against it, is kind of what we have almost in the democratic system that says, what is your passion? If you're making money off of that passion, we need to get a portion of it. And that's where it's wrong, because, and again, even going back to McAfee or whatever, is that he was somebody who created all this software, did all this shit, and it was benefiting the people, and he was making himself rich, but it was just both of them were coinciding with one another. Is I'm doing what I like, and it's making me money, but it's also making people aware of software and viruses and all this shit. And so at the end of the day, even like Iran, there you go. Even like Iran, it's one of those things where when you see it, it's almost like a harmony within society. We do the things we love in order to benefit others, and in that way, we also feed and shelter ourselves. And that's what I think the American dream is all about. Do what you love as long as you're not hurting anybody and you're benefiting yourself. There's nothing wrong with that.
Absolutely. Let's move on. More news. And this is local news here. Now, we talked last week about that 6th Street shooting.
Yeah.
A 15 and a 17-year-old, is that right? They were arrested, and we talked about it. We go, they ruined their lives, dude. But then, just 3 days ago, this got published, and there's a new link that I put under there too after this one. But a family of a man killed in Austin mass shooting wants justice and closure after new suspect is named.
Wow.
Oh my goodness. The family of the victim killed in this month's mass shooting in downtown Austin wants closure.
Hang on, I want to ask, how do y'all feel about how the media is deeming it a mass shooting? Because I don't think it's a mass shooting.
It's not a mass shooting.
Well, it
was a gang war
Exactly.
that took place on 6th Street.
Exactly.
A mass shooting, at least to me, is somebody who goes out with the intent to kill, injure, hurt as many people as possible.
What's my catchphrase?
Because hang on, if we're gonna call this a mass shooting, then there's 12, 15 mass shootings in Chicago every weekend.
In New York.
Well, matter of fact, I think it's categorized. Yeah. It's categorized officially.
3 or more.
It shouldn't. Yeah, and this is not even one person died.
No.
I mean, only one person died.
And exactly what Brandon is saying is, you see how they manipulate shit, dude. Right? Like,
you got to keep consistent.
Yeah.
Intellectually consistent.
That's all we ask for. But
Yeah.
but even
So
with
go to that next link here, and I'll just explain what happened.
I was gonna say, even with that, what you just said, intellectually consistent, is how many people are not intellectual in America?
Probably 70%.
Where they read this shit and say, "Oh, it was a mass shooting. I'm not going to research it. I'm not going to look into it."
Well, that's the problem with what's going on with the Project Veritas in New York Times.
Yeah,
dude. Everybody thinks Project Veritas is this right-wing fucking leaning,
Fake
highly
news.
highly edited,
Yep.
like they're not real journalists. Like
Yep.
when they're the only ones actually doing real journalism
Yep.
today. But
Yep.
everybody says that, and then the New York Times like prints out shit, and you think the New York Times is this like newspaper that's been around forever,
Forever.
and you think that anything you read out of there is fucking gospel.
Yep.
You know that because
Yep.
that's what it should be. That's what we were all trained. We
Yep.
all thought that no, there's no. Why would the news lie to us?
Why?
Why? But they do. They fucking do.
They have an agenda also.
And so we have this story of these two kids getting arrested, and then they're let go, completely let go, by the way. All charges dropped, and then they have this new guy that they're looking for. And then they finally fucking found this guy. Finally got him. Suspect in 6th Street mass shooting, which, by the way, we talked about it. It's not a mass shooting.
No.
One person died. It's a shooting. It's gang related, and they're kids. They shouldn't have even been there in the first place. There, we don't even know if the guns were bought legally.
Yeah.
Matter of fact, they are in Killeen. They are from Killeen, so I doubt that they're in the military because when you're that young,
Yeah.
you're probably still in the military. That's
Yeah.
when they want you.
Yep.
You could be in the reserves though.
You're nice and ripe.
The suspect in a recent shooting that killed 1 and injured 13 in downtown Austin, maybe that's why they call it a mass shooting, because 13 got injured, has been apprehended in Killeen. Killeen Police Department says that 19-year-old DeAndre Jermarius White has been located and is currently in Killeen City Jail. Here's this kid, man. This kid, can you look at the picture of him real quick? Look at this fucking loser.
He ain't got a mustache, bro. He ain't got a stash like us.
You got fucking dirt on
bro,
your
he
lip.
ain't got stash like us, bro.
Okay, we don't want to hate him on him too much, but this man murdered
Come on,
somebody,
son.
shot into a crowd. You know, Chauvin just got convicted,
Chauvin, yeah.
and he's also got sentenced.
Yeah.
He got that third degree murder, depraved heart one. What they, you shot into a crowd. This man literally did that and killed somebody.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think well, hopefully he gets life in jail for that. But if he gets anything less than that.
But what we know about it.
Well, let's talk more here. The Lone Star Fugitive Task Force says, and this comes from Fox 7, says that the fugitive investigation was conducted, which revealed that White had fled back to his home area of Killeen after the shooting. The KPD says that just before 2:30 p.m. on June 24th, members of the task force and the KPD SWAT team located White in the 1300 block of Annalee Drive. Oh, I know that place very well. White has been taken into custody without incident and transported into Killeen City Jail. White now awaits arraignment on arrest warrant for murder in reference to the shooting that happened on June 12th. White had been identified earlier this week as a suspect in the shooting, and charges were dropped against 2 teenagers who had been previously arrested in connection with the shooting. 2 teenagers in downtown Austin, probably drinking, but that's that's besides the point.
Yeah.
So what happened? Court documents obtained by Fox 7 indicate that the shooting is believed to have started as a dispute between rival groups of teenagers. Rival groups, not gangs. If they were white, if they were Proud Boys, they would have said.
Yep.
They would have said so. They would have said it's a gang. Okay.
With
We're
malicious,
we're playing a shitty game.
They would have said they're gangs with malicious intent.
Yeah.
With malicious intent.
We say this satirically, of course. We don't actually think that if the races were reversed, it would be any different, because, of course, it would be the same way.
Allegedly.
Every Saturday morning, the 2 groups encountered each other. Eyewitness accounts.
Wait, is this a brunch?
I know, it's like every Saturday morning, right? Hey, guys, we're getting up, man.
Yeah,
do some fucking.
Bro, they met up at Whataburger and fucking had breakfast
Early,
on a bun.
not
That's why they have
every.
cops at Whataburger so late, dude.
Because gang members meet up at Whataburger.
So eyewitness accounts on what happened vary. But ultimately, a verbal argument ensued. That argument escalated and multiple people pulled out weapons.
Damn right.
Multiple people pulled out weapons. It's unclear how many people fired. According to police, officers responded to reports of multiple shots fired at around 1:30 a.m. near the 400 block East 6th Street on
Whoa.
I worked pretty close to that.
Bro, I ride by there almost all the time.
Well, it's downtown.
Yeah.
It's the 400 block.
Damn.
That's Colorado, if I'm not mistaken.
Is
Do
it?
they say East Block? Yeah, that's Colorado.
Yeah.
Wait, is Colorado? Yeah, Colorado is before Congress.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
that's Congress. That's Colorado.
Dude, are you serious?
When officers arrived, they found a large crowd of people in the area. Initially located, several victims who had sustained gunshot wounds were hurt. Officers immediately began life-saving measures on multiple victims. One of the victims, a 25-year-old man from Michigan, died from his injuries. You know,
Yeah, man. Well, I was
when people come into town, I'm like, okay, what do you do with new people in Austin? You take them downtown.
yeah.
It's probably what happened.
Well, I was gonna say it was funny because
we gotta take them to dirty, dude.
the
I wouldn't feel good.
that was a
for the rest of my life.
That was
if
Friday
happened to
night,
one of my
right?
friends.
That was Friday night.
Friday night. Yes.
Yeah,
Pouring into Saturday. Yeah.
Because I remember that same Saturday morning, I went downtown to fly my drone and take photos, and I went to Houndstooth, and the barista, she was like, "Hey, we know
Did
each
you
other."
hear?
And we're just like, "Hey, what's up, this and that?" And she was like, "Did you hear about the shooting?" She was like, "Yeah, the cops just finished up like an hour ago about this and this and that." And I was like, "What?" She was like, "Yeah, on 6. And literally 6 from Houndstooth is like not even a minute away on one wheel. You know what I mean?" And I was kind of like, "What the fuck?" And I rode by there, and it was just kind of, a bunch of homeless people were there. But I was kind of like, okay, not too much.
I want to try your one wheel. I've never rid one.
Bro, you need to fucking do it, bro. It's the best thing in the world.
Sweet.
Next time we do a mustache maintenance.
Yes, or
Or a
bonsai
bonsai.
video. Do you have a time this weekend?
Yeah, anytime.
Maybe on Saturday.
I'm down for
Tomorrow?
Saturday. I have no. Wait, I can't do tomorrow. I'm doing a roast party.
Well, maybe on Sunday. No, you got your church.
I can't do Sunday. Yeah.
All day Sunday. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's Lord's Day.
From 2 p.m. to that's all I was saying. Like about 5.
Okay. Well, maybe next week. Maybe
Yeah.
sometime during the week. I don't know.
I could do during the week.
But
early-
I don't get home till like fucking past 6 o'clock.
I was gonna say because I do early.
Yeah. I can't. I'm working.
So we could do Saturday in the morning next week.
Oh, put it on the books.
It's going on the calendar, babe. If you're watching, babe, you got to put that on the
Let's,
calendar.
put it on.
Anyways, people got killed. One person got killed, and it wasn't a mass murder. And I agree with you, Brandon. It wasn't a mass murder.
shooting.
It wasn't.
They're
a
not
mass
calling it
shooting.
mass murder. They're calling it
Yeah.
mass shooting.
It wasn't a mass shooting, and definitely, again, it's funny how they avoid talking about the race on this.
All
one.
right, here, let's go to this one from the Daily Wire here. We're keeping it straight with our gun news today
Yep.
here.
Yeah, let's do it.
You guys remember the Ken and Karen, right? They stood
Yeah.
outside their house with their guns when there was a group of protesters who broke into their private community,
Yep.
and they were so threatened they stood outside of their house on their property and pointed their guns at them.
Pew, pew.
So what ultimately happened is that they had their guns confiscated.
What?
That's right. And so let me read a little bit from the Daily Wire, one of the best fucking publications on the fucking planet.
Other than Temple.
Look,
Look,
my
guys.
friend. My
Look,
friend,
guys.
look. I think
We got a
he's
P.O.
prob-
box.
We got a P.O.
Send me
box.
some stuff.
Look, guys, we're trying to create culture.
I've got the skate park, and I'm about to do a 3-flip right now. Mark and Patricia McCloskey purchased at least one new gun over the weekend after turning their firearms over to law enforcement.
Sons of bitches.
So they bought new guns, and I'll just tell you what happened. Mark McCloskey pleaded guilty on Thursday to a misdemeanor charge of 4th-degree assault. The charge is far less serious than the original felony charges filed against McCloskey of unlawful use of a weapon and tampering with physical evidence. Patricia McCloskey pleaded guilty to misdemeanor offense of 2nd-degree harassment after being originally charged with felony offenses of unlawful use of weapon and tampering with physical evidence. Mark McCloskey has been ordered to pay $750 in fines, and Patricia McCloskey has been ordered to pay $2,000 in fines and $10 to the St. Louis Crime Victims Fund. $10, that's it?
So real quick, man, and this is kind of what I was even talking about with Michael, was like, we don't know the logistics of what they're signing off here, right? Like, okay, you're not going to go to jail, but you're going to have this penalty on you that will prevent you.
Oh, well, this is a funny thing because what he talks about here is really great, and I hope it's in here. I didn't really read over the thing, but Ben Shapiro talked about it, so I was like, I gotta talk about it too.
Let's do it.
The pair were also ordered to turn over their 2 weapons. They were pictured holding. So when he was wearing he was holding an AR. She was
fucking AR,
holding a
yeah.
little pistol. The couple's lawyers asked that the guns either be destroyed or rendered ineffective and sold to a collector as a historical artifact.
Wow.
The
that's
judge
dope.
denied that request.
Damn
Last year
it.
in June, they were confronted by Black. We talked about all that. They brandished their firearm after claiming that they had threatened them with physical violence after breaking into and damaging the gate. Could you imagine, Brandon, if somebody broke into your fucking house and you pointed a gun at them and they ran off and then fucking sued you for
Yep.
this? This is essentially what's
no,
happening.
I couldn't imagine because I would.
You live in Texas?
Well, I mean, if by this standards, then I'd be up for murder
Well, and that
because there would have been no crime to report.
and that's what I mean. Is what like if I were them, I would be like, what the fuck did I do wrong?
Yeah.
I'm on my motherfucking property.
Yeah.
I pay for this motherfucking gun.
Well,
I got
they
a
broke
permit.
into a private, like,
Yeah.
literally breaking and entering.
Yes, they open gates. A gated fucking community.
Yeah.
Bitch, I ain't gonna go nowhere. Like I ain't gonna go like unless I'm gonna install some shit. You know what I mean? Unless I'm gonna do landscaping.
Dude, I'm paranoid when, like, I go to a house to do work and, like, you know, like, I just get the address, hey, show up, and it's on the back
Yeah.
patio. I'm like, okay, hang on, dude.
You gotta knock on some fucking
517, because, hey, this is Texas,
yes,
man.
dude. Exactly.
I want to make sure I'm at the right address.
And dude, when I do fucking photography for people who are like, oh yeah, go to this property and take these
Yeah.
photos and do this shit. It's
You're like, okay, 1432,
I got
1432. Okay, this
the
is it.
last fucking thing I want to do is get on somebody's property wrong. You know what I mean?
Yep.
So for them, it's like I'm on my fucking. They came into my space, and now I have to fucking prove something to you. What is America? We are innocent until proven guilty. Prove me guilty, motherfucker.
Unless you don't side with that group.
And that's what I'm saying
Correct.
is prove me guilty, and they didn't do that, but
Exactly.
they signed some shit that said, okay, we are.
So he pleaded guilty to fourth-degree assault. Fourth-degree
Fourth
assault
degree.
occurs when somebody physically assaults and inflicts demonstrable bodily harm or intentionally throws or transfers bodily fluids upon a specific class of people.
There was no physical
None
contact
of
between
that.
them and the protesters.
None of that.
Bodily harm is any physical pain or
Yep.
injury, illness, or any impairment of physical condition. It can be as basic as a red mark or a bruise.
Nothing. No physical contact happened.
None
Why
of
the
that.
fuck did he plead
None
guilty
of that,
to that,
bro.
He pleaded guilty to that because he knew what the punishment was going to be.
Well, because
He
of
just
course,
has
yeah,
to-
if you take it to trial, you got to do all that, and just the given political scene probably would have lost. So
But the money.
it's a plea deal.
The money. They
a
have
plea
to pay
deal.
for court. They have to pay for lawyers.
it's
they
a
have to
plea
pay
deal.
for all this shit. Yeah, exactly.
His
So-
lawyer was able to negotiate it down all the way to that, but it's still there was no physical violence that happened
None.
that manifested from
He had
this.
to
None.
pay, what was it, a $200 fine? or something?
$200 or something, and she had to pay $7,000, $2,000.
2,000. Now go up here. Scroll up there into his picture here because he had to give up his gun, but look what he just did. And I'll go down, right down. Yeah,
He
there you
bought
go.
another one.
Goes checking out my new AR. Like, do you think all this bullshit? Like, this is why he pleaded guilty to that because now he's not a felon.
Yep.
He's misdemeanor.
Because
paid off his
it's
fines.
it's not, and this is the key word. It's not a conviction.
Yeah.
and he's a lawyer, so he knew what to do, and he's got his
Look,
gun.
bro, you know that's a knockoff polo shirt because he has a big ass fucking polo logo.
That's not a knockoff, dude. He probably fucking owns
Dude, that's probably
Polo.
like an $80 shirt.
Dude, you believe it or not, this shirt is a $100 shirt.
No, it's not.
These Ren Spooner shirts, it's called REYN.
Are those pearl snaps? Are those pearl
No,
snaps?
not pearl snaps.
Oh.
But these shirts are $99.
Why?
Well,
I mean, it's a gorgeous
I'll tell you
shirt.
what, my grandpa,
I would say it's a beautiful shirt. I love how artistic it is.
my grandpa, rest in peace, homeboy. He used to buy one of these shirts for all the boys in the family every year.
Really?
I was only able to get 2 of them before he was out. But now I've got 2 of them of my own from Grandpa. This is one of them, and I have a green one. And then my lovely girlfriend bought me one for Father's Day. And I was like, I
No
can't believe you bought me that.
way.
Knowing how much those goddamn shirts cost, I'm telling you, I tell you, these shirts are supposed to last a lifetime. For $100 fucking dollars,
Dude, that's
they
some
better.
good fabric. That's Mexican fabric right there, bro.
Made in Indonesia by them Indonesians.
Damn. That's
All right.
I'm gonna steal that.
Let's
from you.
finish up here. What should we finish up with? I think we're done. I think that's it.
I don't know.
No.
What?
Let's play the last video. We're going to play this last here. It's the very last thing before we're out of here. Thank you guys for watching. This will turn your stomach.
Yeah.
Or make you laugh. It may turn your stomach or you may hurt from laughing so much.
One of the two.
It's something. But this is the world that CRT is creating. This is what they want. This is their end game. Where you have
Oh shit.
you have white bitches doing just fucking watch. Just watch.
So this morning, the baby woke up and had some sort of violence in her heart. I don't know what it was, but she has been losing her mind all day. And it's interesting because I'm watching her lose her mind, and then I'm watching the preteen respond to that by trying to make her happy. And I have had to actively tell him, stop trying to make her feel better, stop responding to her tears. It's so interesting to see the conditioning of people responding to white girl tears happening so early. She's 5, and she's got an 11-year-old coming after her trying to make her feel better when she cries. We have to unlearn this whole business that white women crying is going to get them what they want in life, because that ain't it.
That is unbelievable what you just heard there. The reason why your 11-year-old is comforting your 5-year-old because you've lost your goddamn mind. She's got a maternal instinct built inside of her that wants to console a crying kid. It doesn't matter if that baby is white. It doesn't matter if it's black. It don't matter.
Bro, that's called compassion.
It's just compassion
Well, are you trying
for
to tell
your
me?
baby.
Are you trying to tell me you're trying to unteach your 11-year-old how to have compassion for people
Just
based
because
on
she's
color?
Oh, that baby's clearly a racist. No, you know what? No, she's not even trying to put the racist thing. She's just going, well, that baby's got the whitest of privileges.
Well, it's white guilt is
Yeah,
what she's
it's white guilt.
trying to pull.
Bro.
She's pulling the I feel bad because I'm white.
Exactly.
Yep. That's
That's
exactly
what it
what
is.
she's trying to do.
Fucking white guilt, man.
Chris Odom
Damn.
says, look into the Black Rock Corporation.
That's the investment
that's the
company
investment
that's buying up all the properties that are $10,000, $20,000, $30,000 over asking price.
And all they're trying to fucking do right here, Chris, real quick, all they're trying to fucking do is buy all this land in order to rent it out to people in order that they may be enslaved to paying more fucking property
nation of
taxes.
renters.
Yep. That's all they want. Nation of fucking renters, man.
Well, I'm a homeowner, so fuck y'all. Get your shit together.
I'm a nomad.
Yeah, that's right. Thank you guys for watching. This has been a great episode of Emergency Exit Podcast, if I don't say so myself. If you guys like our content, like us on Spotify, all that stuff. You know the thing. We'll be back next week. We're going to try to do a deep dive on somebody that's just recently in the news. So stick around for next week. What else could I say? We had a wonderful time with Michael Cargill.
Yeah.
And I hope to see him later. I hope to fucking hang out with the dude. Fucking
Shoot
shit.
some guns with that motherfucker.
Shoot
dude.
some guns,
Shit.
fucking barbecue.
Dude, we
I
should-
want to eat some fucking sweet corn
Bro,
with that
let's
motherfucker.
fucking get some license with him, man. Let's go to his fucking shop, shoot guns, get our fucking licenses. I mean, we may already have them allegedly.
We should
Let's
make a
see.
video of us getting
Yeah.
it. All right.
Yeah.
That's it. Settled. On
Allegedly.
the calendar.
Yep.
All right. Once again, thank you guys. We'll see you guys next week. So, for Brandon the Hardhead Mitchell, for exactly Tio Tomas, David Aguilar, I'm Lo Sane. Be cool, stay hip. We'll see you guys next week. That's right.